Good afternoon or good morning, good afternoon, maybe good afternoon everybody, and thank you for being here at 1 p.m. Um, so, right from the time this course was announced, over the past 2 weeks, I have been badgered with questions from my friends and many of you. ഇത് എന്താണ് ഇത് സംഭവം RRR എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് എന്താണ് ഇത് സംഭവം ഇത് കളിയാണോ അല്ല കളിത്തമാശയാണോ അതോ ഞങ്ങളെ കളിയാക്കാണോ എന്നാണ് ചോദ്യം പക്ഷേ ഇതൊന്നല്ല this is just like we all believe that life is a journey but we all believe that life is a journey, but we go through life as if it is a rat race. So what happens? Much of what is important is relegated as dust and swept under the carpet. So this course is just a small window opening, and in the Tyndall effect, I hope you will be able to find the luminous dust particles. This course is all about that, just focusing on the dust that we all sweep under the carpet every day. So this is for all of us who seek fulfillment, seek a wholesome work-life balance, and feel inclined to increase our future or crisis readiness. So let's meet our faculty. There is no need to introduce them. They are the cream de la cream of KSOS. So first of all, we have Dr. Laila Mohan. She is a superwoman to many of us, our icon, in fact. So why she is here with us today is not because she is a leading phaco surgeon or anything else, but because she had the courage to go after what is current in ophthalmology at an age when many of us wouldn't dare to do it. So she will be today sharing with us how to spin chances out of challenges and why age should not be a deterrent. I will be talking on pain. This time, I mean the physical, the tangible pain that all of us feel at the end of a tiring day. And I will be looking not at the art of it, but at the science of alleviating it at least a little bit. Then we have our Verma sir with us. He is the youngest of the faculty, as we all know, from the daily quips and the quick-witted comments that he always posts in our groups. So he will be taking you through the secrets of that evasive elixir of youth we are all after. Next, we have the one and only dynamic Dr. Marine Paul. She is the power woman of KSOS, and there is no other way. I have seen her connect with people magically, powerfully, whether she is in the OT, in the boardroom, or in the party. So she will be revealing secrets of how to connect well, how to connect in new ways with the world around us. Next, we have a very VIP Vice President of IMA State, and more important to us is the fact that he has been long associated with the professional protection scheme of IMA. He has seen many a doctor, succumb to crisis and also come out of crisis. So we will also have rainy days, and let us brace ourselves to those days. We will hear Dr. Jane Chiman on how to, be crisis ready. Next, we have a very special person, that is Dr. Anita Prabhakaran. She is a pediatric ophthalmologist by profession and a dancer by passion. And she says that is a great leveler in her life. This demanding passion of dancer seems to be the great leveler in her life. So let us see how you can avoid a professional burnout by drinking a potion called passion. So that's what this course is all about, and we are good to go. So we start now with Leila madam, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ledika, for including me in this. I don't know how far I fit into this, but I'm happy to hear all these wonderful, the changes we can make in our career. So, professional advancement in mid-career ophthalmologist, chances and challenges. Of course, as you finish post-graduation, there is an urge to settle down in practice. But a few years down the line, there is a stagnation and you know that you are way behind and there is more to go. And as ophthalmic technology, as we all know, in investigative as well as therapeutic, it's rapidly advancing, and updating becomes a necessity not only in mid-career, I think much longer or all your life. And optimizing your technical excellence gives vigor and excitement to your career, and work-life balance is a continuous process, as everybody has been pointing out. So there are some gaps in our qualifications after we pass out. Professional advancement and updating leads you to reach your goal which did not materialize earlier. It's not always that you reach where you wanted to be. And women, especially the chunk of ophthalmology, are more at risk. And what they have missed out during training or later due to pregnancy, motherhood, and family issues can be overcome by some of the opportunities are there and the challenges we take. And my exposure, I worked in Saudi Arabia for some time, and during Gulf War, I went back again and had the opportunity to work in King Khalid Eye Specialist Hospital, a fully American hospital run for the royal family and the best in Asia and second best in the world, as they say. And I was fortunate to meet some of these best neuro-ophthalmologists, Dr. Pamela Chavez and Don Kikawa, oculoplastic surgeon, who inspired me. And then it was a revelation that ophthalmology is not what I did at that time in Calicut, where I had a comprehensive ophthalmology. They had 12 subspecialties in the hospital. So it was, and later when I went for an observership under Dr. Edward Wilson in the US for congenital cataract, I was surprised to see Pamela Chavez there, and she was saying, oh, such a small world, because she came for a very short period to Saudi Arabia, where we had met. And so, we can all, definitely there is a potential to conquer the world if you are earnest enough. So I did my fellowship when I think maybe I can say past my mid-career, after I returned from Middle East from Arvind Eye Hospital. My son was studying in 10th standard. You need a lot of family support, definitely. Without that, it is very difficult to go forward. And working exclusively in an eye hospital was a dream come true after all that. And my mentor, Dr. Nachiyar Madam, was instrumental in me joining the hospital. And the value of mentorship is big. Actually, mentors can be valuable both in your career and advancement and in your personal issues. I have had occasions where I had wanted to change my career. I mean, the work in my hospital, I've been working there for almost 25 years now. And keeping in touch with the mentor gives mutual satisfaction for the mentor and mentee. That's what I feel as a mentor too. So the first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you are not going to stay where you are, resetting the goals and striving for it. And I had heard Dr. Latika say the other day in yoga program that you have to reset your goals every 5 years. I don't know how far that is possible, but then find the niche in you. Are you infatuated by academics, research, or entrepreneurship? And discover and utilize the full potential. This is the time for re-evaluating and redefining your career path. So, coming to updating the gaps in skills and knowledge, preparing for an exam or fellowship, I have no regrets for not clearing my FRCS Part 3, which I didn't pursue later. It helped me in updating a lot, because this happened way back, almost 30 or 25 years back. And I didn't want to, my priorities were different, my children were growing up. But definitely it pays off to update your knowledge, even though I didn't clear my fellowship then. And because of the rapid development in ophthalmology, this is our OT team who got excited by the 3D Ingenuity, which was kept as a demo. And as surgeons, the joy, teamwork and friendship in the pursuit of excellence in the operating theatre is really unique. And this 3D robotic surgery, which was a demo, may soon become a norm, and we never know. And choosing a subspecialty to excel. Subspecialty has become a necessity now, and develop an interest in subspecialty while you are doing your training, residency, or later by attending meetings, going for webinars in the specialty, which motivates you to stay current in developments, and observership under a mentor induces passion and excitement. And later you can choose a fellowship in short term, either short term or long term. Long term has to be well planned for your family also. And all these opportunities are available. I did my phacoemulsification under Dr. Mohan Rajan about 25 years back, and all of them are my mentors. All this phaco and International Council of Ophthalmology opportunities to go abroad and in India also. What I still regret is that I ignored the importance of workshop for FRCS. When I had it in the same city in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, and a lot of people flew to the place to have the course. I did not do it myself. I thought, I don't know, somehow it didn't happen. And I think you have to put all your heart into it when you are doing the examination, and definitely it pays off. And the Collegium of All India Ophthalmic Society trying to standardize fellowship programs. So all of those who are going for fellowship or even otherwise, now after fellowship only I think you can appear for the phaco. And I know Dr. Jayaprasad has cleared his, after, it's not mid-career, of course. So sponsored ICO short-term and long-term fellowships are there, observerships. I think there is a whole session on what all these opportunities. And embrace opportunities as they come along. I had the opportunity to attend grand rounds, CME of SNEC during weekends when I had my baby sitting in Singapore, which gave me a lot of insight into our specialty. So these are some of the opportunities. Travel fellowships by AIOS, Prayogshala, all these webinars and wet labs and leadership development program by AIOS and KSOS initiative. I should congratulate KSOS and Dr. Natasha, who is doing a big job there. YOSI, our Young Ophthalmologist Society of India Forum, and our youngsters who are very active in these are the best to comment on all that. And teamwork in ophthalmic practice, I think institutionalization gives you an inspiration for advancement. And the cost of equipments and machines cannot be a burden when you get the help from some of these companies and get advice from peers. And research which you have started during your training can be continued. And I had thought Women Ophthalmology Society, I thought it should be men, women, gender bias should not be there in profession, but I think they have a big role to play in women where they get the opportunity. So it's never too late. Reset your goals and be ready for the change and move out of your comfort zone. Success awaits you. Thank you. This is my mentor, Dr. Nachyar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leila. One thing she forgot to mention is that all this takes a big chunk of courage, which many of us lack. Anyway, next is Dr. Latika on the ergonomics of ophthalmic practice.
So, good afternoon. I thank KSOS for this opportunity. So, in this room, we are all united by one single thing, our love of ophthalmology. So, that's why you should be... Is it okay now? Yeah. In this room, we are all united by one single thing, that is our love of ophthalmology. So, that's why that statutory warning is very important. And this talk will be about defining the problem of work-related musculoskeletal diseases in ophthalmologists. Let's analyze it, explore the ergonomic solutions, and empower ourselves to act upon it from Monday. So, doctors often take better care of their cars than they do of themselves. Don't you agree? So, that's why being a busy ophthalmologist in itself can be a pain in the neck, especially by evening, because if you want to work well, you cannot avoid bad posturing. You cannot avoid repeating it over and over again. So that's why we get all these back pains, neck pains, arm, shoulder pains, etc. In fact, just see this. If you support the arm also, there is a problem. If you don't support it, so there is a problem. So the question is whether to support or not to support. So don't think this is very rare. These are the stats, and India 71% of ophthalmologists are having these issues. So that is why the AAO made a task force for this problem in 2015. I urge all of you to visit this site and take this course. There is a course, online course, which will do a lot of good. So let's see what this is actually about. The ergonomics means it's a process of designing and arranging workplaces, products and systems to suit the professionals, in this case we, the ophthalmologists, because one size does not fit all. So what is the goal? The goal is to have always your spine straight and the knees at right angles, thighs parallel to the floor, feet flat. Yes, this is very easily said than done. How exactly to do this? And it has to be done everywhere. So start with the space, go on to the furniture, make sure that your tools and your equipments are, ergonomically fit, and also, most importantly, become aware of this problem, as you will be now, and turn it into your attitude and adopt it into your practice. So let's start with the clinic. So we all these days have to turn our head towards the patient, the bystander, the system. The patient, the bystander, the system. So please arrange your layout such that the strain on your, torsion on the neck is minimum. And regarding the seating, we are used to these type of rotating stools. It is time that we changed. We should have chairs like this. I have actually introduced them in my department with no armrests, curved chairs which are actually having the backrest at the lower back. And don't forget to use your progressives at work. This is the classical praying mantis position. You can see how I am sitting. This is the way I usually sit before this talk happened. So we are always slouching in the slit lamp. We are extending our neck. We are bending our spine, and this is how the outline looks. So what should we do? We should be doing this. Before each patient, adjust your chair such that the eye of the patient, the eye of the examiner is at level, and try to consciously adopt the ergonomic position so that, it can be slightly straight like the other picture, next picture. So this applies, and don't be hard on your arm and the hand. Don't rest it unnecessarily on hard surfaces. And these principles apply to the OP, the clinic, and the OT. Indirect ophthalmoscopy is very bad for the neck and the spine. And remember that although your rechargeable indirect ophthalmoscope is convenient, it is heavier. Always adjust the patient, make them move, make them bend, make them, do whatever, because they need to do it only one time. You have to do it over and over again, 24/7. So, and whenever, if it's just for a diabetic retinopathy screening, for example, you need only a screening indirect ophthalmoscopy, though some articles differ. You should use your common sense when you should make the patient lie down and do a complete indirect. In the OT, please do an ergo check before you start every surgery. Oru patient because you cannot do that in the middle of your surgery. And I just wanted to show you this chair. I haven't used it, but they say this is the best type of chair to have in an OT. It's called a straddle chair, and it gives you very good lumbar support. And the microscope, just one thing, your oculars should be adjustable, and make sure your oculars and objectives have a angle of 20 to 30 degree with each other. And if you're doing a lid repair, better to do in a microscope rather than under the loop. And headset surgery, the industry has come up with it. It is very good ergonomically. I don't know about the economics, and many patients, many surgeons are not very comfortable with it also. So in short, the do's and the don'ts are: avoid, that is, don't unduly do neck flexion, bending of the back. This you have to be consciously avoiding, and always move the patient, adjust the couch or the chair, and relax, because we are always focusing our fine muscles. So it builds up a lot of tension by the end of the day, and relax and always invest in ergonomic chairs, because you should have the vision that ergonomics is more important than economics in the long term. So if you have red flags in spite of doing all this at the end of the day, that is mobility restriction especially, don't ignore, don't self-treat, go to a physiotherapist. They can help you, but exclude structural problems by going to an orthopedic or a surgeon. Don't shy away from whatever treatment is being advised. We are experts in doing that, don't do it. So these are certain myths. The youngsters, ഇവിടെയുള്ള യങ്സ്റ്റേഴ്സ് പറയാം അത് ഓൾഡീസിനുള്ള ടോക്കാണ്, നമ്മൾ ചുമ്മാ ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നതേ ഉള്ളൂ. അങ്ങനല്ല. AO specifically says under 40 ophthalmologists should be taking care of this more. And ചിലർ പറയാം കുഴപ്പമില്ല, നമ്മൾ 2-3 സർജറി ഒക്കെ ചെയ്യുന്നുള്ളൂ, അത് കുഴപ്പമില്ല, അതൊക്കെ കുഴപ്പമുണ്ട്. ഓൺലി തിങ് ഇസ് ദ ഹൈ വോളിയം സർജൻസ് വിൽ ഗെറ്റ് ഇറ്റ് ഫസ്റ്റ്. ദെൻ I can say that what is a more risky player, ജിജിക്കാണ് കിട്ടുക, എനിക്ക് കുഴപ്പമില്ല, ഞാൻ റെറ്റിനെയാണ്, പക്ഷെ അത് കുഴപ്പമില്ല. അങ്ങനെയല്ല, എവറിവെയർ ദർ ഇസ് റിസ്ക്. എക്സസൈസ്, ഐ ഡു എക്സസൈസ് റെഗുലർലി, നോ യൂസ്. യു ഷുഡ് ഡു കസ്റ്റം എക്സസൈസ്, യു ഷുഡ് നോ വാട്ട് എക്സസൈസ് ടു ഡു, ദെൻ ഓൺലി. പിന്നെ വയസ്സായില്ലേ, ഇനിയിപ്പോൾ എന്താണ്? No, the 60s is the new 40s, so you have to pamper yourself, and you know, whenever treatment is suggested, you should go for it. We adjust our bodies and everything to the design of the machine we use, when in fact it should be the other way around. So if you need something, why don't you ask for it? It is for us to understand and point out what is wrong in our designs. നമ്മുടെ സ്ലിറ്റ് ലാമ്പ്, നമ്മുടെ മൈക്രോസ്കോപ്പ് എവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നത്, അതിൻ്റെ കൺട്രോൾസ് ഒക്കെ ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. Why it is not being placed at the level of our belly button, so that we don't have to, unnecessarily strain our arms? Why is it that the phaco foot pedal is here and the microscope foot pedal is here? Why is it that our heels have to be turned up every time we use the foot pedal? We should have flat profile foot pedals. So all this, who will say? You should be part of the solution. The youngsters especially, you should be providing inputs to the industry for ergonomic designs and encourage and consciously create a market. The entrepreneurs, please hear, ultimately demand drives supply. So, in short, practice please what we have preached today, and add life to your years, not years to your life, and fight this MSD with ergonomic practices, prophylactic stretch exercises, and timely medical attention. And finally, ophthalmologists should work with industry. Your problems are your own, and you should find a solution. You should take the initiative for that. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Latika, for that excellent talk on practical tips in our day-to-day practice in ophthalmology. I myself have started sitting straight now, and I hope all of you would also too, so as to avoid, so that we can sleep peacefully at night. So let me invite Dr. Merin for the next very interesting talk on the social media and how to connect with each other, which is I cannot overemphasize on.
Thank you, Latika, for having me here, and I am like overwhelmed by the, her superlative introduction. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you about making connections. Now, see, making connections was basically, I think what Latika meant for me was to talk about professional and also about, how do you change the slide, please? It's not moving. Slide is not moving. Right arrow, yes. Yeah, so by the time they fix that. So the thing is, if you want to be networked professionally, you need to first do that in your personal life. So the personal always precedes the professional. We as human beings are social beings, and as now time goes, we are sort of, coming more and more inwardly looking, isolated human beings, leaving our essential nature to be community organisms. So as the good book says, man does not live by bread alone, and unless you pay attention to your mental well-being by connecting to other people, and other people in your family, your extended family, and the community at large, this becomes more difficult, taking care of your mental well-being. Now, some uncomfortable truths need to be told here. It's very easy to say, go out, make friends. Is it so simple? It is not, because a large number of this is predicated on the way you were brought up. As doctors, most of you would know that by the time you reach your teenage, you sit inside, read your books, don't talk to others. Isn't that what is, I don't know about the youngsters nowadays, but at least that was what was there in our times. And then there are families which discourage, especially women, from, the old adage, be seen, not heard. So these things have an impact on how you behave as you grow into a full-fledged adult. Another thing which we always ignore is our social milieu. There is something called privilege. People from privileged backgrounds find it much easier to network, to connect with people. It is an uncomfortable truth, but we have to face it. Does that mean that the others can't do it? It is a learnable art. You have to take more effort. But yes, it is easier for the others. And finally, the big elephant in the room, gender. Kerala especially is a deeply patriarchal society, and there are circumscribed roles for women. Yes, you can go study well, you can be a professional, but come evening, come home. How do you network if you can't meet your friends, your peers, your mentors outside of your work or outside of your, that is why the essential difference I find between men and women, they'll say like, oh, women are not getting that chance to network. Only if you get out of your houses and go and network will that networking happen, isn't it? So, but times they are changing, and in ophthalmology we have now myriad opportunities. Starting from, we are very lucky to be in ophthalmology in Kerala because we have very vibrant, strong clubs in every district now, which nurtures people to come forward and present themselves in every fashion. Of course, KSOS and AIOS, and as like Laila madam said, even the international fora is open to you if you want to do it. And I have to talk about the LDP, which has brought about a sea change in the way networking has happened. Started in AIOS, KSOS has taken up the flag. Big shout out to Dr. Natasha and Dr. Arup who started it. Now, if these are not the things that you relish, we have a lot of other, forums, like, Dr. Varma sir runs a beautiful WhatsApp group called the Kerala I Miscellany, where, even you can just be an observer. You can just sit in the gallery and watch the fun that's going on. Again, Dr. Natasha has brought out a beautiful camaraderie of women in ophthalmology by starting a group for women eye surgeons called We. I think every woman who is a member there now say that, when I come to a KSOS, this thing I feel as if I'm going and meeting family. And there are other things like, Facebook groups called the Life Beyond Ophthalmology. There are fora for young ophthalmologists, for, you can have your own travel groups. If ophthalmology is not your cup of tea, and you still want to be in the medical, within the medical background, like Dr. Jain, you can grow in the IMA or in your, alumni groups from your colleges, and if other things like Rotary and, Entrepreneur Network, there are lots and lots of options now. Hobby clubs, book clubs, etc. But now when it comes to that, so all those was your personal growth, but when it comes to a professional, you need to have a clear idea who you want to be out there in the professional, scenario. So remember to make a Google profile. If you're big enough, you can have your own Wikipedia page, but everyone should have a LinkedIn page where recruiters can approach you. People can, your CV is out there. So that is going to be the, your face in public. Now, if research is your thing, publish in peer-reviewed journals and high-impact journals so that improves your image and, you get into a better this thing. If none of this, you don't want to do all this, but you just, want to let the world know that I am here. So yeah, you've got all these social media apps like Facebook, Instagram, you name it. So what do you gain out of this? One, like Madam said, mentorship. Very important, that mentorship, because if you stay within your bubble, you don't know what is happening in the world outside. So it's not only important for your career development, but for your overall as, your world view as such, because it challenges the assumptions that you have made on things. It's like starting from small things, which like maybe like in your family, this was the way it was done. But no, there can be 100 different ways of doing the same thing that you will only know if you connect and meet with people. It also provides feedback and support and encouragement to all your endeavors if you find the right mentor. And at the end of the day, it is not about any of these things. It is about long-lasting relationships that you make in this journey when you start, connecting with people. So the art of networking essentially consists of making these connections. Like when you come to a drishti, you meet people, see. But making it is not enough. It's like a tree or a plant. You need to nurture them. And eventually it will become a give and take. But remember, in the beginning, it is mostly give, give, give. The take comes much later. So the skills required for this is, of course, communication. You need to be clear about what you want to communicate to somebody else. But at the end of the day, people don't want to hear you speak. Mostly they want to be heard, right? So you need to learn to be an active listener. Now, what do you mean by active listener? When somebody is speaking to you, look them in the eye, maintain eye contact, be present 100%, and when they are talking to you, listen to them. Most people just want that. And these are the ways you will, improve your social skills. But at the end of the day, it will be empathy which will carry this whole thing forward. Now, humor is said to be the social lubricant. But humor is something which is time-stamped. And especially to the men in this audience, like humor can become very dated very quickly. So, in a social interaction with people whom you're not very familiar with, you may be the funny person of the party, but those which are like, say, off color or laced with innuendo are no longer considered humorous, but rather offensive. So be very, very careful about that. So social media, the idea is to make yourself visible. You can write, create, or blogs, vlogs, etc. You can partner yourself with social media and influencers. And if you want focus groups, you can go into groups like Discord or Reddit, where only that topic of your own interest can be discussed. So in conclusion, what does networking and using social media or platforms like this, conferences, what does it give you? Immense personal and professional satisfaction. But remember, it is a long game. And at the end of the day, unless you are genuine, it should not be for show. People are very, very, adept at reading you. And if you are a fake, it will be spotted. So, have a great networking event at this Drishti. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Marin, for that very insightful talk. Now, let me invite Dr. Jain Chimman for his talk on BCB, are you crisis ready?
Thank you, Latika, for including me in this talk. My topic is BCB, are you crisis ready? So there are three types of crisis faced by a professional. One is, of course, the professional crisis. And second is the illness. And third, of course, your death. You have started your career, or you are way ahead in your career. You are midlife in your career. Whatever it is, these are the three things you might come across in your career. One is, of course, the professional career. There will be treatment complications, then that will lead to litigations, and definitely nowadays physical assault is on the rise. So how do you manage all this? Definitely, as I ask the BP Scheme Secretary, I used to go around giving talks. I always say, if you don't have complications, then you should be an outstanding surgeon. That is, you should be standing outside the theater. If you are operating, and then definitely you should, and you will be prone for complications. But complications per se are not negligence. That's one thing you have to understand. So you should get complications, and complications per se are not at all negligence. So definitely your friends in the profession are definitely going to help you in your treatment and complications. Because the patients you see day to day, Your good patients you will never see. All your bad patients will be going to your colleagues. You will be seeing only your good patients, all your bad patients. So you have to invest on your friends. Be very socially interactive with them, and be active in ophthalmic clubs and of course in IMA. And you should have indemnity schemes. That's what is going to monetarily help you in any treatment complications. And of course there is professional protection scheme of IMA, and there is also the national professional protection scheme of IMA. There was a session before this about the new consumer protection law which came into being in 2020. In that, if you treat a patient from Bihar, the patient can go back to Bihar and then file a case against you in Bihar. Previously that was not there. Wherever the patient was getting treatment, he has to file a case in that place of where he got the treatment. So that law has changed now. So you have to even join the National Professional Protection Scheme. So I'll just briefly explain what is happening, what happens when you get a treatment complication or the patient takes you to court. You'll get an advocate notice, and this just a warning that the patient is going to take you to court. But definitely you have to deny the advocate notice, otherwise you have to reply. Otherwise it implies that you are admitting whatever the patient or the bystander has alleged. And then if the patient is taking you to court, you will get a summons from the court. And within 45 days you will be required to give a written statement to the court, giving all the details, what has happened in the case, detailed in word by word, sentence by sentence. You have to reply to the allegations made by the complainant to the court. And then you will be called for cross-examination by the advocate of the opposite party of the patient. And then you can bring in your expert witness. So these are the proceedings that is happening in court. So if you have very good lawyer, if you have a very good indemnity scheme, if you are a member of professional protection scheme, all these will be taken care of by the professional protection scheme. And definitely your colleagues, your teachers are going to help you to come as the expert witness. So you need not worry, go and operate. Whenever you have complications, definitely there will be your colleagues to help you, and of course IMA. And second crisis is definitely the illness. You should always, whenever you are into a practice, we always think that the daily income you are getting, especially in private practice, you will always think that the daily income you are getting, you are going to get it day by day. But if you are struck by an illness, that is not going to happen. So definitely maintain a healthy lifestyle, have regular checkups, have a good work-life balance, as previous speakers had stressed. And definitely you should have a medical insurance. And there is a beautiful scheme of IMA, health scheme of IMA. Even if you have an medical insurance, IMA, you can take the health scheme of IMA that will give you an additional protection. So you don't have to submit all your originals to IMA. All the originals you can be submitted to the whatever insurance you are having. You can give a copy of all the treatment records to the IMA, and the IMA will give you the 70% of your treatment cost. So that will make up for the practice loss, the income loss due to your illness. So should have your medical insurance. At the same time, you should also have your health scheme of IMA. And you should always try to have a passive income. Right from the day one of your practice, you should try to have your money work for you. That never happens in the case of doctors. Because doctors are the main group who learns a lot of money, but they never have their money work for you. Next talk I think is going to be on finance. I think they will be stressing on this more. And death, you have to be prepared for the eventuality, that is death. So I was the secretary of both the PP scheme, and also I was one term I was the secretary of Social Security scheme. I had a junior who used to clear all the exams he used to write and he used to get first rank. He was an orthopedic surgeon, and he was the first person he was an expert in shoulder arthroplasty, and he cleared his first years. He has to clear first year surgery, then only go in for ortho. Then he went to Singapore. Right when he came back, he had a malignancy, and within 6 months he died. So these are the eventualities you have to be prepared for. You should have a term life insurance. You should, as I said before, you should have a pakka asset creation also. So term insurance, you should actually try for 20 times of your annual income for a sum assured, and premium payment you should not have any unit linked insurance, go for a sum insured premium payment till term. Till term, you premium payment, just a indemnity, just a term life insurance. And again, Social Security scheme of IMA is there. There are 3 different types of Social Security schemes. Even if you are a member of all the 3 schemes, all the schemes of IMA are mutual benefit scheme. So that is, you are helping your colleague. Whenever a colleague dies, you are collecting money from all the other members and then giving to the nominee of the member. So it's all a mutual benefit scheme. So if you are a member of all the 3 schemes of IMA, the Social Security, then you get a amount of, your nominee is going to get an amount of 1 crore. So you should also have a life insurance and also try to join all the 3 schemes of IMA. So as I said before, asset creation is a must. You should have a passive income. Start early in your career. You should have a good loans are good. When you are starting your career, definitely you should go in for loans. And there are good loans and bad loans. Try to have good loans which are going to create your asset or increase your practice. And we should also have financial education. We should not rely on others who consider themselves as financial experts. They only have their own brokerage, but we are the persons who are genuinely interested in our own money, so should have some financial education. So the essentials are term life insurance, indemnity insurance, health insurance, and asset creations. And time is money. Invest in your friends, your family, your profession, and also in organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jain, for your very useful and with lots of practical tips for all of us. Next, in this session of RRR, we have our own RR sir talking about how to remain young always.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Latika. Thank you, KSOS. That is the topic of my talk. All right. And this is my disclaimer. Now, I was born in 1954 and I am now 22 years old. You're all confused. You think I have gone off my rocker? Or that I do not know my arithmetic? It's neither. I'm talking about my mental age. People seem to be so concerned about their physical aging and, of course, appearance, and try to control that. Some by healthy living and some others by other sneaky means, whatever. But mental age, which I think is much more important in your life, not many people seem to be concerned about at all. I wonder why. I am reminded of this book, The Tin Drum. This is the first book in the Dancing Trilogy by Gunther Grass. The protagonist is a boy who decides he doesn't want to grow up after the age of 5. That sort of thing is possible in the realm of literature. They call it some name by name like that, magical realism or something like that. But how about real life? Can you do that? Yes. You can control your aging, your mental aging. How? Point number 1 is curiosity. Children are by nature curious. Never lose your curiosity. Be curious about your patient's diagnosis, of course, and also about everything else under the sun. The day you never learn one new thing is a wasted day, however trivial or however apparently useless it be. Pick up new images, new ideas, new information, whatever. Stop being curious and you start getting older. Point number 2 is optimism. That child is not thinking about the scratch it is going to get from the cat. That's called hoping for the best. Always hope for the best. The doomsday prophet, the negative one, the pessimist never stays young. Point number 3 is to have some interest, hobby, some passion outside your profession. See, you are all persons, ophthalmologists, two-dimensional, flat, acquire a hobby, a passion, acquire another dimension, and acquire youthfulness into the bargain. The world is full of things you can do as a hobby. So many, ever so many. So acquire one and stay young. Humor is an integral part of staying young. Humor is the elixir of youthfulness and the spice of life. See humor everywhere, even in difficulties, adversities, calamities even. Because humor is there everywhere, only you got to look for it. See humor and smile, make jokes and laugh, laugh loud, laugh loudest at yourself. Laugh and stay young. Now your attitude, it's very important. The ideal attitude for a youthful person to have is, come let us, namakku nokam. That is the attitude to have. This is a combination of three things I already said. The optimism, curiosity and humor. You know, long back, my father asked me to join for MBBS. I had other inclinations. Those days, one thing, you never went against the wishes of your parents. Secondly, those days MBBS was a one-way door. You could not get into civil service afterwards. You could not get into films. You could not become a hairstylist or a supermodel or whatever, doctor for life. So I thought, come let's and join MBBS. I wonder where I would have become a sort of old Karmajani if I had hesitated at that time. A few years down the lane, they told me, or rather told us, me and my would-be, how can you get married at this age? You are only 24. So we thought, come let's, and got married anyway. We have lived 45 youthful years afterwards. Again later, 1999, some of you might remember, KSOS was a very hectic AIOC in Kochi. Afterwards, we wanted a laid back, a relaxed sort of drishti in a hill station. So few of us got together and thought, come let's, and Munnar happened. Some of you might remember, or at least you would have heard of that wonderful conference in the sylvan surroundings of the unspoiled Munnar of those days. So come let's. That is the watchword for youthfulness. The moment you hesitate, you start getting old. Now, I have got your full attention, I am sure. Everybody in the audience is. It's very important to have romance in your life, but do not confine romance to the boy-girl thing. Or in these post-truth times of LGBT, I should have said boy-boy thing or a girl-girl thing also. Whatever. Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary defines romance as the ability to wonder at and feel affection for people, places, things and incidents. So, wonder at things, look at things in different way, enjoy them, appreciate, to feel affection, to feel love, fall in love. Yes, falling in love. Again, do not confuse falling in love with falling in love, getting married, getting divorced. No. Falling in love has got a wider meaning. So for example, when I read the lyrics, Manjani Poonilavu, Peratin Kadavingal Manjada Rechevachi Neeranubut, I fall in love with those lines. I fall in love with P. Bhaskaran who wrote it. When she sings that, I fall in love with her. The melodies, modulations of her mellifluous voice. You know Dr. Srikanth Ramachandran, Pulamandolai Center? He does watercolors. When he paints wet on wet, I fall in love with the colors, the painting, the painter. You go to a serene beach in the evening, fall in love with the wind and sand, the purple sky, the fading sun, and the roaring sea. Fall in love and stay young. Now, romance in the other sense, boy-girl thing, and falling in love is also a very good antidote to aging. Only one rider though, do not let your spouse know. If you do, you would not stay young but might die young. Thank you, friends. Thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, sir. I actually forgot to call the next speaker because under the romantic influence of your talk, the aftermath of your talks. So, we have Dr. Anita, and she will be talking about a very important topic. I have been there. I have been there once, and I have got out of it. So I know what this is about. This is about professional burnout and how to avoid professional burnout by keeping your passions burning.
A very good afternoon to one and all here, expressing my gratitude for the opportunity. My topic would be a top-up of all what we have heard until now, and to talk after R.R. Verma sir, it's going to be really tough to get your attention, I know that. So, at any time, do you feel excessive tiredness, both physically, emotionally, you are exhausted, you don't feel that you're efficient enough in your work, you have some negative feeling or some cynicism towards your work, you feel that all tasks are boring and you even think of quitting? Professional burnout might be a possibility, which the WHO has now classified under the IDC. And what kind of jobs are prone to it? Mainly purpose-driven, non-profitable, mission-focused work, very much like that of ours. And therefore, teachers, nurses, and doctors are the professions who get into burnout epidemic. Family constraints, family responsibilities, commitments definitely play a role. Your pressures to excel in your role, both in the family and at work, definitely is a strong contributor, along with many administrative burdens, technology requirements, and your pressures to meet the targets of time, money, and career. So, why should we think about it? Not only that it affects the physician physically, it affects the health of a physician, it also causes clouding of judgment, it causes, it's called depersonalization, you lack empathy, and it makes decision making difficult, and therefore it potentially compromises even a patient's safety and care. When I was looking into the statistics, initially I was very happy to find that our specialty is not among the top 10. But then I knew it wouldn't be so far behind with all those lots of patients we have to deal with very often, even with an unhappy refraction or with all those long hours in surgery, stressful hours of surgery, with all those, to avoid all those complications. Okay. Yeah. So how do we deal with it? Do what you love, and then you will never work a day in your life. You would all have heard of this. So being passionate of what you do is definitely an answer. So, but is it true always? Because passion, as the word itself in German means, it's a double-edged, it is a ability to endure. It could be a double-edged sword. When you work very passionately, you are actually overworked, and because you don't feel the tiredness, you don't feel the tediousness because of the adrenaline rush, and it is often found that it is on the following day that actually you feel more burnt out. And one more thing we all do is to carry all the thoughts and the stress home back from work and ruminate about it. We are not able to cut off. So how do you deal with it? Of course, I'm not going to tell you not to be passionate about work, but what I'm going to stress upon is to set boundaries and have a good work-life balance and have an active social life, which really helps. Taking a vacation definitely helps because it helps us in cutting off, and it helps us in exploring new environment and new stimuli. But is it possible to take a physical vacation every day? So take a mental vacation, cut off, and I mean engaging or indulging in various hobbies which would help you cut off logically, consciously from your stress and relax yourself. It could be an exercise, it could be something creative, but need not be. You can have even relaxation, watching TV, interacting with friends, or even shopping is considered to be a very good hobby to relax yourself, because it is said that less fatigue has been reported in people who engage in physical leisure activities for at least 20 minutes once a week. To share my own experiences, I have had a very keen interest in our field of medicine, which my passion was very much strengthened when I got an opportunity to work with and operate with an intensely passionate teacher in pediatric ophthalmology, Dr. Kenneth Wright. However, whenever I had any kind of stress, work-related, stressful situations, I found solace in my hobbies. Fabric painting, knitting, or embroidery, gardening, cooking, all these excites me. But then I find my real passion is evoked by dance. I feel that the rhythm, the expressions, and the fine nuances of the dance is a total embodiment of mind, body coordination at a spiritual level. And God has been kind to me that I have been able to pursue this passion even now. I have learned Bharatanatyam and Mohiniyattam in my childhood, but now very recently at this age of 52, I have started embarking on a journey on Kuchipudi, and I had my Kuchipudi Arangetam just 1 month ago on October 22nd. And whenever the activity is in a group, it really adds value, it really adds to the enjoyment and fun. And be it singing along with the Nayana Ragam group, or acting along with the TOC skit group, and dancing along with all those beautiful ophthalmology girls, it's really adds value to the hobby. And it's my privilege to share with you 2 of my duet performances, which I consider very prestigious, one with Dr. Anita Balachandran and one with Dr. Arya. So, if you feel stressed, please find a hobby of your choice, what you are interested in, and indulge in it. We are all doctors, we want scientific basis for everything, and science has proven that hobbies, different activities, stimulate different parts of the brain, and hobbies activate the right brain. And how does activating the right brain help? It makes you more creative, you get more, it improves your cognitive function, and it definitely combats anxiety and depression. Therefore, your quality of life improves. Just one more thing, I've heard people saying that maintaining hobbies itself becomes quite frustrating or kind of overwhelming at times. So is that true? It's possibly true, but that kind of stress is actually a good kind of stress called eustress, which is an opposite of distress, which is in fact beneficial, and it impacts the life positively as it helps us to improve focus, and it motivates, and it helps also to deal with other types of stresses. So just one more tip as to what kind of hobby to choose on which day. So if you are on a day when you are thoroughly exhausted, excessively exhausted and tired, please choose a hobby which will calm you down, which will relax you, like reading, meditating, writing, etc. But if the day you are angry, you have pent up anger, you want to expel it, please do some active exercise, and that helps. So whenever all of you continue your passion towards the professional excellence, but at the same time, it's okay. You need to pause, reflect on your work-life balance, and you have to find a hobby and indulge in it so that to de-stress yourself, you maximize your productivity, and also make your life very enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anita, for that very well-rounded talk. And thank you, all of you, each and every one of you, for choosing our capsule over lunch. Thanks a lot. Please, the speakers may please collect the certificates, and we will have a photo.
Good afternoon, everyone. So this session is on finance for ophthalmologists, personal finance, a guide to being on target. So we have 4 talks. So we will be starting with Dr. Thomas George, who will be speaking on how much do I need as a corpus to retire. So I think after the talks and all, then we can have a session on the discussion and all later. So that would be much more better rather than
time
between.
at the end is
So by that all the people will come so that we can have a discussion. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. By retirement, what we mean is a situation where we do not need to work to earn financially anymore. It is not sitting back without doing anything for the rest of your life. So basically you're losing, or rather you're losing your interest in actually adding money to just survive. So how much money should I save to be independent financially? Any financial calculation is subject to unknown risks, and like what you see in the mutual fund documents, past performance is not indicative of future performance, but we have nothing else to go by, so we have to look at past performance. So it's for any investment, this is true. We all consider that banks are safe, but of late, if you've been watching the news, you've been seeing quite a few banks collapse and go into turmoil, and people having their deposits stuck and not being able to withdraw. So they're not 100% safe. They're safer than a lot of other things. So we need to estimate at best, because we cannot have a hard and fast number. Variables that we need is the present, first of all, is the present post-tax take-home income. Tax anyway we have to pay. So the money at your disposal is what is left after tax. So post-tax money is what you have to factor in as your income. And the other variable we need is at your present lifestyle, which you want to continue, what are your expenses? The present income over expenditure is what we need to know to maintain this present lifestyle for the future when we are not actively earning. It's not a mental calculation. Write in a book, a couple of months at least, you'll have an idea. Ideally, you should go through for the whole 1 year, because there are expenses that you want to have which do not come on every month. Like Onam and Deepavali are not there in every month. They come in different months. So you may spend more on those occasions. So once we have it written down, we can easily look at it and see what are the necessary expenses. In other words, what are your needs which you cannot let go of. Then there will be the luxuries, optional expenses, which would be considered as wants. Like, I want to take a holiday to the Himalayas, and that comes in as an expense. That is a want. You can do without it if you just want to survive. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. Unwanted expenses. There are some expenses which when you look back, you say, I probably should not have bought that thing. And typically that happens nowadays with online purchases, because if we delay it by 1 day, quite often we won't buy half the things we buy on Amazon and things like that. So now you have a number to work on. Let's say you, for the sake of calculation, I'm just putting in a number, let's say you need 50,000 per month to survive. And we need a date of planned retirement, at which time we should have enough money in the bank. So we retire at 60 years of age. Again, I'm putting it as an estimate. And if you are 40, now you got 20 years more to go to build up this corpus. So how much will I need to maintain that lifestyle at 60? This is a magic number that we need to estimate, and it is, like I told you, a guesstimate. So my grandfather told me when he got employed, his salary was rupees 27. His family of 6 lived on 16 rupees per month, and he used to spend 11 to his parents, and he could buy 2 sovereigns of gold every year from that 16 that he used to keep for himself. Well, that was in 1927, and the absolute purchasing power comes down as years go past, and that is the inflation rate. If the inflation rate is declared as 5% this month, what it means is the same month last year, if you could buy something for rupees 1, this year you need 1 rupee and 5 paise to buy the same thing. So inflation rate in India has averaged 6.02 from 2012 to 23 on averaging. The highest it has been is 12.17 and the lowest has been 1.54, but its average is around 6%. So let's peg it at 7% to be on the safe side. I like to overestimate inflation for calculating like this, hoping to be on the safer side. So if you need 50,000 now to survive, 20 years later, using the compound interest formula and an inflation rate pegged at 7%, you need 1,93,484.22, essentially around 2 lakhs for the present 50,000. So as a 60-year-old, you need to be able to withdraw 2 lakhs per month to maintain this lifestyle. Don't worry, there's a trick to doing it. Your return should stay significantly above compared to the inflation rate. Please consider the tax on the returns also when you're calculating, and please wait till later talks for a little more of this fund as to what to invest in. I will use a little bit of these topics to proceed further. Like suppose you have an FD. FD now gives just under 7% in most banks. Tax on the interest has to be deducted from this to see the growth, and suppose you are in the 20% tax bracket, it depends on which tax bracket you're in. So the effective interest now comes down by 20%, which means the 7% becomes 5.6. So it is under our assumed inflation rate of 6.02 that it has been averaging off late, maybe much below the 7% that we are using for calculation. It's not good enough. We need to find a way to make it grow above 8% post-tax to stay ahead definitely when averaged over the years. Retirement corpus is a concept where we create a nest egg amount that we plan to save to use for our leaner years, which will come when we are not actively getting a salary. Should be able to take bits out as we need it and not a bulk in one go. So it needs liquidity. Like if you invest in real estate, one, you may not be able to sell it at the time you badly need it. Two, if I got 10 cents of land, I can't sell 2 square feet at a time. Small bits cannot be sold, so real estate is not really meant as a retirement corpus. The remainder also will keep growing as years go by based on the investment classes that you have distributed it into. No real number can be perfect. Variables will keep varying, inflation rate will vary, return on investments can vary, and of course life expectancy, nobody knows how long each of us is going to live. Unforeseen needs can cause a bulk expense in between, but there are still some rough thumb rules that give us a rough number. My job is to tell you those thumb rules. We need a nest egg amount at 60. It will be growing with the investment. How much can you withdraw without ever running out? Let's retire at 60. We may live to 95 to 100 max. So we are looking at planning for 35 years, 40 years post-retirement. And we already talked about the present expense being estimated at 50,000. We need 2 lakhs per month. So the annual expense now is 24 lakhs at age of 60, 20 years down the line. This is one magic number we work on, and we got a few rules that are there in which are popular. One is the 30x rule, which is what most of the Indian financial magazines are touting. It just makes calculation easier. You need 30 times your annual expense expected at 60 as your corpus to retire. So 24 lakhs means you need around am I going back or forward? It's moving on its own. Sorry. I'm trying to go back. Okay. Anyway, we end up with a corpus requirement as around 6 to 7 crores. And how do you get to that? Consistent saving with a mix of investments that stay ahead of inflation helps. Remember to save before you spend, not save after you have spent. Quite often that way you'll have nothing to save at the end of the month. So you have to, at the start of the month itself, decide, okay, I'm saving 50%, 40%, 30%, whatever. And invest wisely what you save. It's not just enough to save and leave it in your pocket or the savings bank. So to get to these realistically, you need to save about 40-50% of your income. And what is the variable we can change? Go for a higher risk investment which will give you a higher returns. When younger, having more going into higher risk investment category is what is suggested. You can easily find your portfolio growing 15 to 20%. This is an international comparison of different countries. Nifty has, the Nifty index has given 21.5 returns percentage-wise in 2021. It has been averaging 19.7 in the years before that. The calculation was from 1984 to 2021. The average is 19.7. It's about 20%. And this is a historical view of the Sensex. There was a great recession in 2008. And there was a big dip, but the very next year it's come back to what it was. So essentially the Sensex is giving around a compound annual growth rate of 15.91 or 16% is what Sensex is giving. So if your returns are going to be 7% with FD, you need to have monthly savings of 1,15,000, 10%, you need 80,000. At 15%, you need only 40,000 to get 6 crores in 20 years. Unless you're totally onto stock market, you're not going to dream any higher. But essentially, this is where you can adjust, and the compound interest will give you the returns over many years. Thank you.
Be taking it at the end of the session. Next, Dr. Prashop will be speaking to us on how much do I spend from the income as expenses.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have a request to the panel and the audience. I'm a bit jet lagged. I'm also hypoglycemic. I didn't get time to have lunch. So if I start speaking gibberish, please correct me. So let's begin. So it's an extension of Dr. Thomas George's talk on how much of my income do I spend, how much of it should I, the actual topic should be how much of it should I save. Now, there is a problem right now, and we have to recognize it because, and it is pretty acute right now. Now, Indians in general, when compared to the general population in the world, are considered to be historically really good savers. We like our savings. But in the recent past, what has happened is the Indians are saving less and borrowing more. And the latest statistics say that the savings as a percentage of GDP, net GDP, has come down to 5.1%, which is like lowest since 1970s. So it should be going up, not coming down. Now, what the economists say is this is probably because of inflation, but it is also because of our spending habits. To feed our spending habits, what we are doing is we are just borrowing more. We are using money that we don't have to buy things that we don't need. So that's what's going on now. And that's good for the economy in the short term, as in there's going to be a rise in the GDP figures in the short term, but in the long term, it's the savings that contribute to the GDP. So in the intermediate and the long term, it's actually very bad for the economy because today's savings are tomorrow's GDP. Now, this is a Western concept and not completely applicable to India, but this was explained by Elizabeth Warren. She was a former US Senator in her book. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. So it's the basic minimum. As Dr. Thomas George said before, the basic minimum is about 20% that you should save. But that may not be realistically enough in our conditions. We should be looking at figures closer to 40%. So out of the 50-30-20 rule, what is the 50%? 50% is a non-negotiable needs, things which you have to spend on. There is no way out of it, like bills, groceries, your transportation. By transportation, I mean the basic necessary means of transport. I don't mean a Mercedes. Rent, insurance premiums, debt repayments. I mean, once you are in debt, it becomes a need. You have to repay it. So those come under the 50%. So you should divide your income into 50, 30, and 20, and 50% should be on the necessities. 30% for the wants, for the luxuries. No, you like to live a lot. We all like to live our lives. We don't want to be, totally stingy. So 30% are for your trips or your holidays, your luxuries, your eating out at restaurants, the Swiggy that you order. For your subscriptions, your Spotify, Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. Your flashy clothes, bags, jewelry, the latest iPhone, the luxury cars, gym memberships, and gifts for things like birthdays and festive celebrations. So they come under the 30%. They should not exceed 30% of your income. And this is the most important point. It comes at the last, but it should be actually in the beginning. This, as I said, is the bare minimum, and it's extrapolated from the Western societies. Probably the figure is closer to 30 or 40% in our case. But at least 20% of your income should be in savings. And out of the savings comes the most important part, emergency fund. You should have a certain amount set aside for emergencies, which can vary between 3 to 6 months of your income. Because if you are ill or if you have an emergency, you should have backup income to support you during that period. So have an emergency fund. That should be part of the 20% savings. The rest go for investments, as Dr. Thomas George said, mutual funds, stock markets, fixed deposits in inverted commas, and retirement schemes. You could also consider paying off your debt early and closing your debts early. That also can come under this bracket. But before you apply the 50-30-20 rule, you should know what you earn. So what you earn, what your salary is, the gross salary is not what you earn. What you earn is after taxes. So you should know what your taxes are and what your final income is after deducting taxes. It needs a bit of effort in the beginning to know what tax bracket you fall in, what are the tax savings you can have, what are the ways to reduce your tax burden. But if you overcome that, then it becomes easy. It's just the initial effort that you need. But again, if you don't have the time for it and don't have the inclination for it, you can, of course, outsource it to a good financial advisor. And by good financial advice, I mean good. There are a lot of spurious financial advisors out there who will take you for a ride, and who may enroll you in schemes that you don't want. Then this is another important aspect of savings, is to track your budget. We may think that we know in the back of our mind, we know how much we are spending, but no. We all have this inherent bias. We tend to minimize our expenses and maximize our savings. So in our mind, our savings are magnified and our expenses are minified. The only way to get an objective idea about this is to track it. Simplest way is to make an MS Excel sheet if you are into that. Or there are so many apps available online on your Android phone or your iPhone, which you can use to track your budget. There are many banks, actually. The way I do it is my bank has an app which allows me to, I spend all my money from one account. So the bank tracks my expenses automatically, and at the end of the month, I get a pie chart where I spent what. So tracking your budget is important. Again, identify your needs. Obviously, your needs should be your absolute needs. What are not needs are dining at a flashy restaurant, ordering Swiggy while watching cricket. That is not a need. Those are wants. So don't confuse your wants and needs. And sometimes a want can become a need. Suppose you decide to buy an expensive, say, a phone or a car, a flashy new car, and you buy it on EMI. Once you've done that, the EMI becomes your need, something which was a want comes into your 50% need bracket. So try and avoid doing that, but once it has happened, then it becomes a need. Again, another area of controversy, do you need your own house or is renting better? Now for many Indians, owning a house is an emotional investment. So in that sense, it makes sense. But do you want to own a house as an investment? That's a matter for another day. Savings, that is the most important, as I said, the 20% bracket. How much time do you have to devote to your investments? Are you really financially savvy, or are you extremely busy? Do you have enough time to look at where you're going to invest? If not, simplest way is to automate your savings, start an SIP. Mutual funds are generally safer. I'm not saying they are the safest. They are generally safer than directly dabbling in the stock market. But if you are confident, if you know your ways around the stock market, please go ahead. But it's not possible for all doctors who are really busy with their professional lives. If you cannot do it yourself, of course, outsource to a good financial planner. Again, what's important is consistency, setting realistic goals. You need to have certain goals in your mind. For example, retirement. You want to buy a home, or you want to fund kids' education, and have realistic plans. So you can't be earning 20,000 rupees a month and wanting to buy a mansion. So be realistic about it. Formulate a plan, and the important thing is to stick to it. Now, why I showed Jack Ellis here, anybody knows why? Because he's considered one of the most consistent cricketers ever. Very underrated, but he is. So if the plan is unviable, always switch to a plan B, or be open to re-evaluation. And this is very, very important. When you have emergencies, you should have the emergency fund and make use of it. But once you made use of it, replenish the fund in your next proper income. And change plans if needed. If push comes to shove, you will have to change your plans. And you obviously cannot take from your 50% needs. Reduce your wants. That's something that you can do in the short term when you are in a pinch. And again, don't neglect your wants either, because life is to be lived. You should not neglect it completely, but beware of the hedonic treadmill. What the hedonic treadmill is, you get to a certain stage of happiness, and it satiates you, and then you need to get more to feel more happy. So don't get on that treadmill. Be very conscious of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashop. That was very clear and succinct. And now we have Dr. Biju telling us where to invest, the different investment possibilities, and overview will be given now.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, and KSOS for having me in this IC. So this is my topic. So I was thinking how to cover this, and I thought of just starting with a story, and I got the story from the unlikeliest of the source. That is from the Bible itself. Yeah, this is something which everybody knows. Jesus Christ was telling this story to his disciples, this parable of the talents. So you know about that merchant who went for a long journey, and to his 3 servants, the first servant he gave 5 talents, the second 2 talents, third 1 talent. So he came after a particular time. Time is not mentioned in Bible, but after a well-known research, it has been concluded that it is 6 years, considering the Jewish economic cycle. So let us say 6 years. So then what the servant has done with the money? So this is what has done. The first servant has managed to double it. The second also had managed to double it. They were suitably rewarded. The third one, he said that he was very afraid that he will be losing his money. He was afraid of his master. So he wanted to put his money absolutely safe. He dug a hole in the ground and just put the talent there. So that is it. So the first two servants was rewarded handsomely. The third one, as said in the Bible, he was banished to a place of darkness where there was gnashing of teeth. Now, when I was teaching this in the Sunday school, they asked me, that was really unfair of God, After all, what he did was just to keep the money safe. So it could not have just punished him. Actually, I didn't know the answer that time, but now I know the answer. There was no punishment by the master. It was a self-inflicted punishment, because by the time the third servant reaches his retirement, as Thomas has already told, now that one talent would have reached 1/4 its value after 20 years. Why? That is the punishment, because of inflation. So he would not have enough money even to pay his electricity bill. So he will be in darkness. Okay. So now we have got 4 investment lessons to learn from this parable. That's what I'm telling you. So let us say the time was 6 years. So the first 2 servants, doubling of the money. So this is the returns that they were, basically getting, 12%. How did we get that return? You apply that simple rule of 72. Just 72 divided by the interest rate gives the number of years which is needed to double the principal investment. So that gives 12% returns. So that is the first lesson. The investment need to beat inflation. Thomas was again telling that. And last 10-year average return, average inflation rate in India was 6%. So you need to have some sort of investment which should beat that. Now just compare it to your average FD, which is about giving you a return of 7% now, doubles in 10 years, you are still not beating inflation. Okay. Second lesson, the time of investment, it has to be long term. Long term means that at least 6 years or above. Again, the 6 years time here in the second lesson. Third lesson, were the servants given the money equally? No. What Bible says is that to each according to his ability. So that is why the first servant, the master identified that he was the top performer. So he was allotted 62.5% of the amount. Okay, the second one, not that reliable, but okay, 25%. Third one, he was taking a risk. So he knew that there is a chance that he is going to lose the money. That is why he gave him only 12.5%. And this is what is referred to as asset allocation. Asset allocation is the cornerstone of investing. This means that distributing your investable surplus across the asset classes, such as equity, debt, gold, real estate, or even cash. The focus is that you are just balancing and reducing the risk through optimal diversification of your entire portfolio. In simple words, don't keep all your eggs in the same nest. That's it. And the fourth lesson, what did the master do on return? No, he just, took that one talent and gave it to the top performer. Okay, so that is about reassessment and reallocation of portfolio. So just go and have a relook at your portfolio, identify the non-performing assets and reclassify. Okay, so that is about the asset allocation and all this. Now these are our different investment options that we are having. So I will just talking about a few of them. Now this blue thing that you're seeing here, oh, the pointer is not here. Okay, that blue, okay. So this is the inflation line. Okay, so we are talking about all the type of investment which are giving you returns above that. That only matters. So the one which is giving you 7%, that can be taken off the first servant. There is only one guy here. That is the stock market. Okay, so it gives you on an average 7% above inflation. That is the minimum if you know how to invest it in properly. So it is about the first servant. The other ones, you can see the fixed deposit, the bonds, gold, real estate. So these probably you can take them as the second servant. So here they just managed to beat inflation. And then you have got, of course, third servant, that is your savings bank. Now many of you will be keeping it in savings bank. But you can look at the return. It just gives you 3%, which is almost less than you are losing money there. So you can see that as the returns increase, the risk also increases. That is why you need asset allocation. You need to diversify. And there are a lot of things here which are given. There's no time for going into that, but these are also there. But we don't have time. Okay, these are other factors to consider when you are allocating, that is your short-term and long-term goals and your financial needs also. Now, regarding stocks, anyway, all of you know that stocks, it just means that there's a share or ownership of the company. Somebody buys it either during an initial public offer or from the market. If the company is doing well and if the guy is keeping the share, you get the returns in the form of dividends if the company is making profit. Again, if the company is making profit, the share price increases, and if we just sort of sell it in the market, you make a profit. So that is the return that you get from the stocks. On the other hand, if the company doesn't do well, then you make a loss if you sell it. So this is essentially what is stock. Now, thing is that there are two ways of investing in equities. One is by direct investment. That is, you just open a demat and a trading account through a stock broker and get started. Now, this needs a lot of time and effort. You need to read a lot. You need to do stock screening, research of stocks. You need to listen to financial news, etc. So this is something which, a minuscule percentage of us will be doing. So the most of us, what we can do is the indirect investment. That is, you just give your money to a particular asset management company. So they will be collecting all this money, producing a large corpus. And they will be buying shares for you from a large portfolio, because there's a lot of money there. So these are your mutual fund managers. So these are basically you are giving to the mutual funds and they will be investing for you, and these are mutual funds. But problem, of course, then you need to give them commission. There are expenses, entry load, then fund management fees, etc. will be there. The second option would be to seek the service of portfolio managing services. They will be professionally investing your money in either mutual fund, shares, real estate, things like that. But as Prashop said, you have to select your portfolio management very intelligently. So these are the two methods. Now, if you look at the mutual fund, there's a whole variety of all these things. There is no time again to go through each and every one of this, but basically you can classify it into large caps, mid caps, small caps, depending upon the capital which is the wealth of the company. So basically you can say the large caps would be safer. Now, just go through this chart. This just shows the appreciation percentage from 2016-2023 of a few companies. This is the graph of how the share of Reliance has gone. You can see that it has gone almost appreciated about 347% from 2016. However, for the last 1 year, there is some amount of negative returns. The same is the graph of the Infosys also. And on the other hand, you can see that the Yes Bank here, it has had a meteoric ride initially, but somebody who has invested in that has lost 90% of his money now. So, this is the vagaries of stock market. But just see how the Nifty 50 has fared. It has had a smooth rise here, almost giving you 157.4% of appreciation without much of a hiccups. So, you can ask, if Nifty 50 tracks the share price of the top 50 blue chip companies in India. So can somebody sort of buy all these companies for me? Sure, they can. So there are mutual funds like that which tracks the performance of these companies, and these are called index funds. So it's a very good option for people who are not very savvy about this index investing. It's a fail-safe strategy. How much equity should you invest in? Use the 100 minus age rule. It means that you should hold a percentage of stock that is equal to 100 minus your age. If you are 40, you should hold 60% of your portfolio in stocks. The rest should be in debt and fixed income securities like that. And the way to invest in equity is by using SIPs or STPs. Again, there is no time you have to actually read up that. You don't have time to go in details. Now the other investment, so the FDs, low risk, low return debt investments. FDs, RDs, tax shelter deposit, these are things which everybody knows. But bonds are things which you are not very familiar with. This can actually give you a slightly more return than the FDs. So how do you invest in bonds? There are online sites like this. And by indirectly, you can also opt for debt, mutual funds and ETFs, etc. Real estate, of course, the liquidity problems is there, as Thomas was telling, but you can look at these things here. There are real estate investment trusts, then infrastructure investment trusts whose listed shares are available for you to purchase, and it gives you a good option, at the same time not wrapping your money. Gold has always been a protection against inflation and deflation, gives you reasonable returns, and it is something which gives you true diversification, which means that it goes sort of opposite to what the share market is going. Okay, so finally, now this is something. Now I haven't understood anything of this. I'm a novice, don't know stocks, don't know mutual funds, not ready to spend time researching them. I get confused when agents approach me with all sort of mutual fund investment scheme. I don't trust real estate. What should I do to get an annualized return of 12% per annum after investing for say 6 to 10 years? If you are somebody who is asking this question, then my personal answer is this. Start investing by putting your 110 minus age percentage of your investable amount in a Nifty 50 index fund on the 13th of every month. And the remaining FDs and gold. Why 13th and all? Probably we will discuss if I get the question. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Biju. You kept it entertaining as well as very educative. Thank you, Biju. And now we have Kiran telling us about how to protect yourself, insurance, and what is the need for it. Kiran, please come on.
Yeah, insurance. Why do you need it? I don't look like an insurance agent, but so insurance is basically financial compensation. It's three components. One is financial compensation to either yourself or your dependents. When you have contingencies, it could be death, disease, accident, disability, anything. So depending on what contingency you insure for, you have a variety of insurances. The first three are probably the most important for everybody. The third one specifically for doctors, which is malpractice insurance. And there are a lot of other insurances, property insurance, fire insurance, public liability insurance, and some insurances like car insurance, third party, which are all mandated by law. So we will be discussing only the first three, and we'll go into a little depth. We'll start with life insurance. So life insurance, if you go back to the first definition, is a financial compensation to dependents in the event of your untimely death. So all these are very important terms. So when you look at life insurance, you hear a lot of these different plans. And most of the plans that your friendly insurance agent in the former years, they used to be called the LIC uncles. The LIC uncles will promote what are known as endowment plans, ULIPs. They will be couched in different names like kids saving plan, if you have a female child, marriage plan and whatnot. Because the attraction about these plans is that they give you tax-free money at maturity, right? But on the other hand, term insurance will not give you any money at maturity. But the fact of the matter is the only insurance that you actually need in life insurance and the only insurance that can provide any adequate coverage is actually term insurance. But the insurance agents will not sell you this because they hardly get any commission out of this. How much life coverage do you need? You have to think for yourself. If you are the only breadwinner in the family, if you have an untimely death, generally your dependents will require at least 10 to 15 times your annual income plus all the liabilities that you currently have to take care of them, right? So, let's imagine your annual income is around 25 lakhs. That means by the earlier calculation, you will require something like 2.5 to 3.75 crores as a lump sum amount of money to be paid to your dependent in the event of your untimely death. Let's look at this example. 40-year-old, healthy, non-smoker, assuming it's a doctor, coverage required according to the previous calculation is around 3 crores. And you are using this term insurance till 65 years of age, right? So if it's a term insurance, your annual premium will be around 50,000. So if you pay 50,000 per year from 40 years to 65 years, in the event of your death, your dependents will get a coverage of 3 crores. Now, for the same premium, if you are using an endowment plan or a ULIP plan, you will be getting a coverage of 5 lakhs. Just think of this. Because here the attraction is not the fact that you will only get 5 lakhs, it's just that you will get a lump sum after 65. right? But it is basically an investment plan. The endowments and the ULIPs which are generally sold to you are investment plans. They are not insurance plans in its pure sense. If you want to cover your dependents, you should take a term insurance where your dependents will get paid a lump sum amount of money at a relatively low premium for the amount of coverage required. But because these relative premiums are very low, there is hardly any commission. Insurance agents will not tell you this. How long should you take term insurance for? It's very simple. Until you have dependents or until you have accumulated a corpus large enough to take care of your dependents. Typically, let's say 60 or 65 years. There are some term plans that are being sold currently till 99 years of age. It is ridiculous. Don't take it. I have a huge corpus already. Do I still need life insurance? No. Let's say my annual income is 25 lakhs and currently have a nest of 50 crores, whether it is part of my investment or what I have received from my parents, that is good enough to take care of my family. I don't need any life insurance. Now, coming to health insurance. Again, financial compensation to yourself or your family, that will depend on what kind of health insurance you take. If you take individual plan, it is for yourself. If you take what is known as a floater plan that covers all the members of the family, it's for your family. It is for hospitalization and daycare. So, this is again a basic principle. In health insurance, always try to take what is known as a base plan plus a super top-up plan. Okay. So, I will explain with an example. 40-year-old non-smoker, no systemic illness or PED is pre-existing disease. This is insurance speak, PED. So, we need a health cover of suppose say 50 lakhs, and that sounds a lot of money, but if you get admitted in the ICU for a few days, lakhs will just flow away like that. And here there are two options if you want a coverage of 50 lakhs. Or you can either take a base plan of 50 lakhs. You take a single plan that covers you for 50 lakhs. That will be approximately around 40,000 premium per year. Or you can take a base plan of 10 lakhs and a super top-up plan of 50 lakhs. What it basically means is that if you get hospitalized and the total bills say come to around 20 lakhs, the base plan will pay out the 10 lakhs. The super top-up plan will kick in only after your base plan is exhausted. And because in terms of probability, the chance that a hospitalization is going to cost you more than 10 lakhs is very less. And there are very less chances of super top-up plans kicking in. Therefore, the premium is actually much lesser. For essentially, for a coverage of 50 lakhs, you will have to end up paying a much lesser premium as I have shown there when you use this in combination. Generally, opt for plans with no sublimits on room rent or ICU, even if it is at a slightly higher premium. I've seen and various examples where you can, for example, develop a heart attack at a time when there is a dengue outbreak and there are no beds available except the suite rooms or the deluxe rooms. And then you don't want to get into a hassle of having a plan with room rent limits, ICU sublimits, etc. Just even if it is a slightly higher premium, opt for such a plan. Important to check the policy coverage of prime hospitals in your locality, in the sense that you shouldn't take one insurance which gives a lower premium simply because it's a lower premium. You have to make sure that all the major hospitals are covered in their network. This is important because the only way you can get cashless claim is only in the network hospitals, right? And this is important if you have a large expense. Now finally, there are so many other things, we'll just stick to only the basics. Finally, malpractice insurance is also called as professional indemnity insurance. It's basically financial compensation if the court awards a financial compensation and the legal expenses, which is the amount of money involved, which is paid to you when a court finds you deficient in your professional service. Right? So, malpractice insurance or professional indemnity insurance is essentially offered by one insurance companies, mostly private insurance companies, but it's also offered by the Indian Medical Association, which is called the PPS or the Professional Protection Scheme. The Professional Protection Scheme technically is not really an indemnity insurance, it's a more comprehensive insurance. It generally has a lot more advantages than the insurance that is given by the private insurance companies. So they are much more experienced, have a vast data bank, they have lawyers who have been doing this for a long period of time compared to the private insurance companies. And well, in private insurance companies, a lot of time you have to find the lawyer yourself and you basically deal with yourself and the legal team. That's not the case with PPS. And PPS also usually with exceptional circumstances only, they allow for any payoffs or settlements. And also, depending on the high risk category, you don't have to pay extra fee. For example, if you are an ophthalmologist compared to somebody who is not in a surgical field, you might have to pay higher premium with private insurance companies. If you are a gynecologist, you will have to pay a very high premium. Or if you have a claim this year, you will have to, the premium will get loaded much higher next year. That is not the case with PPS. So, eligibility, only the life members of Indian Medical Association can be part of VP scheme. The scheme covers all cases filed in all these different formats. It's also important to note that if you have a medical legal case against you, if the opposite lawyer knows very well, he will file case again in all the courts, criminal court, civil court, human rights commission, consumer court, everywhere. So you will need to fight in all these areas, and that's what PP scheme does. As far as the jurisdiction is concerned, the traditional PP scheme is only in jurisdiction is within Kerala, but there is also a national PP scheme which will cover throughout India, and this is essentially the fee structure. It comes to around 1,500 by year 6, and that is how. This will cover about 10 lakhs per case or 20 lakhs per year, and in some cases we know that this is not enough. For you can take what is known as an enhanced protection, where for an extra 10,000 per year, you can get coverage up to 1 crore. For the professional protection scheme, with national PPS, it will cover only up to 50 lakhs. So some general principles before I conclude. You keep your family members informed. It's not enough that you take a huge coverage of life insurance. You have to keep your family members informed of not only the policy documents, if possible, if your dependents are financially illiterate, get them a list of fee-only SEBI-registered financial planners. You can get it, fee-only SEBI-registered financial planners. Because once you get a lump sum of 5 crores, they need to know what to do with it. Full disclosure at the time of taking insurance. Do not hide any pre-existing diseases or anything. You will end up in trouble later on. Insurance is never a substitute for investment. You should not club both of these. That is why you take term insurance and do your investment options in other mechanisms. And keep it as simple as possible. You will have, whatever insurance you take, you have so many riders, critical illness riders, terminal illness riders, and that benefit, this benefit. Usually all of them are market speak. Keep it as simple as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiran. That was very well done. We are sort of running out of time. Does the audience have any question to ask us? Okay. Yeah.
Malpractice is a term when you are found guilty of malpractice. That is what. Sure. Yeah, the social security and family, I don't have much knowledge about it. I know that the social security schemes of the IMA are reasonably good, but it will not cover term insurance because the amount of money you get paid at the end is very less. Family benefit scheme, I would really need to look into it a little more. Sorry.
Okay, both these are contributory schemes for fraternity death, and if you actually sit and calculate it against the term insurance, it comes out to be about the same. But I would suggest that everybody joins FBS, SS, Kerala IMA has got Social Security 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, SS 1, 2 and 3, the problem is the net amount of money you get is really not good enough in terms of your overall corpus. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you are earning 25 lakhs a year and if you are the only breadwinner in the family, you will require something like 3-5
All 3
crores.
will give you 50 lakhs.
Yeah, but we are talking about 3 to 5 crores bare minimum for a 25 lakh earner. So that is why the social security schemes will not cover the total corpus required.
Dr. Biju John, I have one question to you. You are actually talking about the financial planners and all. Most of the people who are sitting over here won't be knowing much about the Nifty 50 and the other things and all. So as for youngsters and all, once they start the financial planning and also now the SEBI has told that actually that when you have to join for the PMS investment and all, actually the minimum amount of fund which you require is like 50 lakhs, which won't be possible with youngsters and all. So how can you help the youngsters? You have told that, okay, you should start. Everyone was telling that we should start early, like 25 years or 30 years and all. So then how can you start doing it?
That is the advantage of the SIPs. The best thing would be to join a SIP. So you can start a systematic investment plan with as little amount as just 500 rupees. So there is no upper limit also. And the basic thing is that you just enter into the stock market only by small tranches, not as a lump sum. So that basically in Nifty 50 or any sort of stock as Sensex, it just goes, but then it has got vagaries. It just goes up and down like that. But historically what we have known is that it has always cut above its peak, goes above the peak. So there will be areas where it just comes down. So in order to make sure that you don't end up as a loser by investing at a peak time, putting a lump sum at the time when everybody is telling that the market is going crazy like that, now put amount, and then the next year you find that you are losing money. So just not escape that, you make sure that you just keep small amounts like that and go on. So in that way there will be something known as rupee cost averaging. Because even when you have got a Nifty crash, it means that the same amount of money you are putting in will be getting you more stocks. All these stocks will have got the potential to rise again. So that is the advantage of joining a SIP.
What about the sovereign gold bonds and all? Sir, can you just tell about the sovereign gold bonds?
Okay, Biju said gold is good to hedge. Physical gold, there is a problem about, if you're looking at jewelry, there's a problem about purity of the stuff that's given to you. Gold bars, they're more pure, but it can be stolen. So you have the option of gold ETF, that's like a mutual fund, exchange traded fund, or sovereign gold bonds, where you do not have the gold in your hand, but you're investing in gold, and the price will track the price of gold, and when you give it back, you get the returns. Sovereign gold bonds, in addition to this, gives you 2.5% returns per year. Per year or 6 months? Per year.